By the way, my name is Maverick. Some of you most probably know me towards the end of the speech. I have a little personal story to share. It's interesting that when Zikri asked me to talk about it, I think what went through their mind is that, you know what, when it comes to starting an initiative or a movement or a business, people will sometimes fail. So who do we know on our phone list that has failed many times? So I think they comb through the list, hey, let's call Maverick to do it. So essentially it's true or not true. I think everyone has failed before. How many of you have never failed before? Typical dumb question. How many of you have failed many times before? Yeah. Interestingly, if you talk to really successful people, they will say they have failed more times than they are successful. And all of us walk today. Once upon a time when you were born, when you're still wobbling and stuff like that, you actually did one of the toughest things ever. Has anyone had a relative or a close one who has actually lost the ability to walk for a while and are going through rehab? Has anyone had that experience before, or seen a friend that has done it? You'll realize, if you hear it from them personally, it's actually harder to learn how to walk than anything else. So don't take yourself for granted. I think you've been through one of the hardest hurdles the human race have actually did, which is because a baby, when you were young, you never give up, because you know why you wanted to start to walk and run away? You want to run away from your mom. So that's always the case. So when they asked me to talk about failure, the first thing I did was I Googled. So I Googled and then I look up some books. So the first part of this talk is very much what you can get from Google, and I'll tell you why it doesn't work later. So usually if you buy a best-selling book, they are king with acronyms. In Malaysia, the Malaysian government, they are damn good with acronyms. So everything must come up, become an acronym, right? Even though it doesn't make sense in the end. So I'll tell you why is that so. When it comes to failure, I personally think when something bad really happens, first thing you need to do is that look at it from a factual point of view. Don't take too much of an emotion into it. So that's the first thing that you need to know. Second thing, apologize, say I'm sorry, it's totally fine. Third thing, investigate. Like maybe someone else caused it, but you have to take responsibility, right? What are the facts? What are the things that caused it to happen? Okay, this is not for Christ's sake, this is not the Frozen song. Just freaking let it go already. And please let go of the song as well. It's not even that great to begin with. Yeah, my son can listen to it like 99 times, and now I have it playing in my head, so it's bad mojo. Okay, unleash if you have to. If you have something deep down, don't carry it. I was a Buddhist monk before, so explains for my baldness. And one thing we learn is that if you don't regress, you can't progress. So my timeline is usually 72 hours. If something bad happens, I bitch, I moan, I shit about it for 72 hours, and then I cut off. The shorter it is, the better. Eventually, you need to move on. So why do you want to shit so much? So now it's about 3 minutes. So I bitch about it, I kick a fuss up, and then I just move on with it. Swear, whatever it takes. Look at what the resources you have after a failure, because usually after anything that happens, there are usually debris. Debris can be used for certain things. People pay for debris. Look at cow dung. In India, cow dung is a commodity, right? And experience it for what it is. If it's a failure, don't try to make it up for something else. I know some people who say failure is like a bad word. You don't use it. You don't say that you are a failure, and you don't say someone failed. Like it or not, it's just a word. Whatever meaning that you add to it, just experience it. If you fall down, then just fall down. It's fine, It's a nice battle scar story. And then I actually found there's actually another acronym as well called success. So let's go through it. So this is the more positive side about failure, which is success. Look at the bright side. See the bright side. Underline, basically look at the things that are really important and underline it. Clean up. If something really happens really badly, clean it up. And then commit to be better. If you failed, it's not personal, just go on and do it. Express transparency, really apologize and say that, hey man, I'm just human, Look for strategies for you to overcome it, and basically speed up. One of my good friends of mine, Mike Smith or BKH or whatever names he decided to call himself now, says that if you want to be successful in business, you need to fail fast and fail forward. Use other people's money if you have to, but fail as many times as you can. Now, the only reason why I don't like all these stupid acronyms is that this is what the textbook says. That's why I say it's an epic fail. So what you Google online nowadays, you need to actually do discernment. So for all of you who have been taking notes, you can crap away the notes. Those are the stuff you can Google anyway. Frankly, this is my WikiHow of my personal experience. Yes, I managed to do all the crap stuff in 7 minutes, even better. My WikiHow of what to do when shit really happens. So for the past 10 years, I've been in business. I failed. Practically, I'm in my 5th business. My first 4 failed due to partnerships and blah, blah, blah. They say an average entrepreneur failed 3.5 times. I contribute to the 0.5. Sorry about the statistics. And so I'm here to basically tell you how I actually overcome it. Because for those people who know me long enough, I've been through some hard stuff like a divorce and a close family passing away and living in a car before. And they actually asked me what keeps me moving. So I decided to put some of the things together and hopefully it will help you. These are my personal experience. Firstly, when shit hits the fan, please take cover. Always. It's like some people bother to go and switch off the fan. Screw it. It's already in a mess. Look for that's what they teach you when in a country where there's earthquake or typhoons. Always look for a table. Same thing. When shit hits the fan, take cover first. When the dust is settled, you come out. Unless you're really good that you can basically dodge all the shit, don't try it. Just take cover first. And secondly, either have orgasm, celebrate your failure, or basically do a little origami. So these are basically 2 ways of going. Some people I know, I tried it before, I failed. I have a massive party, we do crap, you hangover. I don't drink actually, so I hangover on drinking too much water and sipping air. And you know what, the next day, everything is fine. So you basically build the momentum to overcome the failure. But sometimes I try the origami method, which is like, I sit down, I find a cave. That's what Batman does that's what Bruce Wayne does in the brooding Batman. He basically goes to a cave and he basically just try to find out what he scrutinized himself. He's like, there's 100 people in the room and Batman beat 99 and one of them get away. He'll beat himself up for the one person that got away, even with the limb or the eye missing. So that's what you can do. But the danger I realized with origami is that you get stuck in it. It's like, for example, if someone let's say you get cut, some people would tend to the wound, they will apply antiseptic to it, they will look for it, look after it for a week and stuff like that. You can, but a lot of people after the wound healed, they actually did not move on. I realized that I like the orgasm method more. Is that after the cut, I celebrate it, better scar story, and I actually move on. I find that it's actually faster to move on, but this is your personal preference. Look at the recent experience you have. My personal take is that if shit hits the fan and you took cover already, very smart, and you actually still stay there and wait and count the shit, chances are they're going to blow the whole place again. So you're going to get shit second time. So my rule is that I think Brad Pitt says this in World War Z. If there are like tons of zombies coming and you think you find a good place to stay and you stay there, chances are you'll be dead. So Brad Pitt is kind of handsome, so I think I'll just follow his advice. And guess what? At the end, he actually walked out alive. So, yeah, totally take Brad Pitt's advice. So, have an orgasm. Forget about origami. And yes, never repeat it again. So, some people, they make a mistake. They say, shit, man. It's like, I did it, stuff like that. And guess what? 3 months down the road, they do it again. This happens so often with people who have bad relationships. They say, you know what? I don't go out with a guy that cheats. Blah, blah, blah. Drink with the friends. 3 months later, end up with the same guy that actually cheats again. So never ever repeat the same mistake. But if you do find yourself repeating the same mistakes again, you need to do origami. You basically need to find a little cave, fold a little crane, because I think there's something inside of you that's craving for the cycle to repeat itself. Like for those friends who, I'm sure you guys have friends who like, they meet a bad partner and then they break up tragically, like a Korean soap opera drama, and then 3 months later they repeat again, and 3 months later they repeat again. Those people can't use the orgasm method. I think they use the orgasm method way too much. They need to basically go into origami, which is something inside of them that's not working. So work on yourself first before you actually move on. That's why some people say that, you know what, I want to go 2 years of backpacking in China to soul search. Frankly, if you want to find your soul search, look at the freaking mirror. Your soul is always inside of you. But if you say you want to go around and basically find, gain clarity, yes. So a lot of people, if you want to go travel to soul search, that's really stupid. Give me your money, I'll spend it elsewhere. I'll actually buy a mirror for you. But if you want to basically find clarity, you either do social work or you either go travel. You expose yourself, you experience new things. Yes, never repeat it again. But if you do, make sure it's only for research purposes. Like, shit man, I failed 4 times already. Surely there are some statistics that I can keep. So you fail a couple more times, guess what? You can actually write a best-selling book of why I failed tragically and why this method never worked. But make sure it's on somebody else's money. So this is what so I've seen entrepreneurs do it over and over again. They actually, I think Tim Ferriss is actually one of them. Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-Hour Body, 4-Hour Work Week. He actually loved to do weird social experiments like putting bubble wrap around his head and just to test it. I don't suggest you doing it. He's a bit OCD by my count, but let other people do the research and then you just get the benefit of it. But as I said, only repeat a failure for research purposes. Okay, this is epic. This was voted actually one of the best photobomb pictures of 2013. In every failure, I think there's always an opportunity or epical fail, which means that you can fail big time, but there's a 50% chance. So the reason why sometimes people ask me, hey Mav, why do you call yourself Maverick? Because when I see a horde of people running in one direction, there's something inside that's just, I want to run against the horde. It's like, there's just something, it's not rebelliousness, it's just weird. Because 50% of the time, there's actually nothing. They are actually running from nothing, and it's fine. So about half of the time, there's either fire, earthquake, or zombies, or Brad Pitt. So sometimes it's right. But for me, a 50% chance is better. If you tried to buy a lottery before, heck, you don't even get 1%. So I think 50% makes sense. Okay, this is the personal. If you need, this is what I do personally over the past 10 years. I love to collect stories or weird pictures of babies doing shit like this, right? Because when you, and keep it on your phone or anywhere that is really convenient, it's not the idea, but this is actually a good product idea, SK. If you, why not you just sew a motivational quote on your underwear? Because I think chances are you will look at your underwear more often than anything else. Okay, so you can try product hunt. I think some people will say it. The idea is that surround yourself with motivational fixers. If you have a friend, you have a lot of friends or network that are generally more positive, like the Incitement group. If you fail, immediately go and meet them. Don't look for sucky friends. Don't, some friends are just opportunists in a sense that, wow, your trouble is so shitty ones. Because deep inside, they want to know that you are in deeper shit than them. So one reason I came so far in life is that I tend to realize there are 2 kinds of friends. Friends who really celebrate with you when it rains, which is a very good thing, or friends that only celebrate with you when it shines. So you need to know that, or look for videos, or look for movies. Like for me, I watched Forrest Gump like 1,000 times. The DVD pirated version really spoiled until BitTorrent came about and stuff. So look for movies that, like The Gladiator, anything that moves you, just watch it again and again, and it gives you message. Some people like to read good messages. Is the audio working? Can you just check? Just put out the volume to the max and destroy the speaker in the process. Yeah. Okay. My personal favorite when it comes to motivational fixers is I actually watch this guy.
71, a motorcycle crash left our next guest, and he prefers to be known as W. Mitchell, without fingers and with severe burns to his face. In 1975, while piloting his own plane, a crash landing left him paralysed and confined to...
It's not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens to you. Stuff happens. Life happens.
We call this accident and miracles, but my next guest could certainly be called indestructible. This is Mitchell.
I tell people again and again and again that you don't have to use these obstacles as an excuse to stop, to fail. You can use them as an excuse to succeed, to learn a new way to do something. And you don't have to be burned or paralyzed to have big things happen, because a lot of us have big things happen.
Mitchell's life is an example of the title of his book. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it.
After about 2 months, the plastic surgeon came to see me. He wanted to talk to me about my face. He said, Mitchell, literally, your face has been burned off. What did you look like before the fire? Could you describe yourself? Or maybe someone from home could bring in a photograph. And I couldn't remember any pictures from home specifically, but Newlon Shaw, one of my other wonderful nurses, Florence Nightingale-like people, remembered my wallet had survived the fire and dug it out of the drawer. And of course, the doctor rummaged through it, and naturally, the first thing he came across was the license, and he pulled it out, and he looked at it for a moment or two. When he looked up at me one more time, I was really wondering what was in his mind. You probably are aware they don't have mirrors in burn patients' rooms. I hadn't seen myself yet. I had no idea of what I looked like. Finally, he took one last long look at the driver's license. Shook his head and said, God, I know we can do better than this. And they did.
He's known as the man who would not be defeated.
To say that W. Mitchell is an extraordinary man is an understatement. He has looked into corners of the human experience that few of us ever see, and emerged with a vision of life that is full of light, humor, and insight. W. Mitchell proves quite vividly that it doesn't matter what advantages or disadvantages you were born with. It's not the conditions or the externals of your life that will determine your destiny. What matters is what decisions you make about how your life is going to be. The decisions that will write the story of your destiny.
But every day the orderlies put me back in this chair, and every day I went out in the gymnasium in Craig Hospital, and every day I got a little bit stronger. And every day another obstacle became an opportunity. And every day another dark moment at least had a little light shining in. And every day I hated myself a little less. And I loved myself a little more. But every day when I went out in that gymnasium, I watched a young guy, a guy who'd been a mountain climber, an outdoorsman. He had hurt himself climbing, and he would never climb a mountain again. His life was over. He would never race a 10-speed bike again. His life had no purpose. He would never ski the magnificent unbroken white powder of a Colorado's winter day again. There was no beauty left for him. And after watching him for a particularly long period, one afternoon, I went over to him. And I said, you know something? Before I was paralyzed, there were 10,000 things I could do. Now there are 9,000. Yeah, I could spend the rest of my life dwelling on the 1,000 that I lost, or I can concentrate on the 9,000 that are left. And in my lifetime, if I'm able to do even a few hundred of those things, I'll be one of the most remarkable people on this planet. It's not what happens to you. It's what you choose to do about it that makes all the difference in you. Life's not easy. Life's not fair. Life's life.
Yeah, so that's a personal friend of mine, W. Mitchell. I brought him into KL in 2012. He's basically close friends with Ronald Reagan, with Bill Clinton. The interesting backstory about him was that he doesn't look like that. When he was 29, he was involved in he went to war. Nothing really happened in the war. He actually came back without a single scratch, which is weird. So he bought a bike, and on his way to work the very next day on his brand new bike, he was actually knocked down by a laundry truck at a traffic junction. So he was knocked down, the petrol cap popped open, and basically petrol was like doused all over his body, and the heat of the engine ignited him, which means he was burned over 70% of his body. In the early 70s, if you are burned more than 60%, you're kind of fucked already lah. But he was burned more than 70%. That's why until you see him today, he don't really have fingers. All his fingers were burned off. He was wearing a helmet, so his head was intact. So for those who are driving a motorbike always wear the fucking helmet, really. So that's what Mitchell would tell you as well. He was burned 70% of his body, and then interestingly, he did not die. So after months of skin graft, he's actually 71 this year, although he'll say he's always 29. The benefits of plastic surgery is that you kind of don't look old. And then, so what happens is that he realized that he's not dead. So he's alive. Yes, fingers have been taken off. He's only have like lobster claws left. So he said, you know what, I think God kept me alive to maybe do something about it. So he decided to learn how to drive a car, even learn how to fly a plane. Most of us don't even learn how to fly a plane. He knows how to fly a plane without fingers. 4 years after this accident, he was in a plane crash that paralyzed him from the waist down. He bought his own plane. He had, I think, 3 friends along with him, almost take off, and he crashed. His friends walked out, literally walked out, with not a single scratch on them, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. So the funny thing was that all the great things that he did, he became a millionaire, started a business doing wages, grew to a $65 million company. He owns 1/3 of it. He became a mayor of a town. He practically saved a mountain in Colorado. All this happened after the 2 accidents.
So a lot of people actually ask, it's just amazing that someone like that, because I don't know about you, but for me, if I burn up to 70% body, if I kind of want to give up on my life, I think I deserve it, because shit, man, it's like epic shit fall on me. But this guy had it twice. He always joked that it's always easier to win a lottery than to have 2 major accidents in your life. So the reason why I picked up, I basically always remember Mitchell. I was married in 2005 because it's like, everyone put up your hands. Yeah, great. All of you have 10 fingers, right? And are any of you on a wheelchair? No. You are already 70% better than Mitchell. And if you actually have a conversation with him, I may actually bring him into Malaysia again next year, just for fun, because he likes it here. He's one of the most independent persons you can ever meet. Never bring him to a bar because he will hit on every chick. But one thing you can learn from him is that my son has met him before, so that is the picture of, that's how we was, in 2012. So he has a great connection with kids. He will not let anyone push his wheelchair unless necessary. But for kids, he will just let them do it because that's how he built before. Interesting about this picture is that 2012 earlier, why I decided to bring Mitchell into Malaysia first was that it was a decision I made about 5 months ago, and my mom's funeral. So my mom fought cancer for about 12 months. She passed away in January 2012. On Friday the 13th, my mom always likes to go out to Starbucks. She picked 13th of January to basically leave us. On the funeral, on the second day actually, I realized that, you know what, I big failed because I was really close to my mom. So one of the biggest pillars in my life was literally taken from me. So at that point, I have about 100 over 20,000 from my businesses. There are 2 things actually. I've always wanted a Lexus car. Anyone of you have been in a Lexus before? Or even know what's a Lexus? Yes, it's pretty fun indeed. There are some people who actually appreciate the Lexus. The Lexus car has this epic cool feature. There's an aircon underneath your butt. So it's like, most cars have heaters under the car seat, which to me, in the Malaysian climate, it doesn't make sense at all. It's like, why do you need a butt warmer in a warm climate, right? But Lexus was the first car to actually say, hey, why not? Why not we just put an aircon under there? So I've always wanted a Lexus. So at that funeral, I said, you know what? I've gone through misery. Actually, interestingly, I did cried once. So during the funeral. So I said, you know what? As a big gift to myself, should I buy the Lexus or should I bring Mitchell in? So until today, I never bought the Lexus, so which is fine. So I decided to bring Mitchell in. This venture lost me about 50,000. So it was within just within 1 month, I lost about 50 grand. So on this day itself, I got in a loss of 50,000, which is still fine. I make good friends and stuff like that. And later this November of 2012, my ex-wife, at this moment, my wife asked for a divorce. And until today, she never gave me a reason. So we've been together for 13 years. We were like hardcore for like 7 years, and stuff like that. And until today, my mother-in-law still asks me, why did you guys get divorced? So actually, even her mom or her family don't know why I was, that's how I became single then. So 2012, epic day could have been one of the worst years of my life. Still, there's a lot of things that happened in 2012. The movie 2012 was in 2012. So, and I like to joke about it. The worst thing that could have happened was if the world really ended on 21st of December 2012, which is a day before my birthday, at 5:55, according to the billions. I'm in the middle of a Tom Cruise movie. So, which cliffhanging, if the world ends, it's kind of hard for me to go up to heaven and ask God, hey, what's the
ending for the Jack Reacher movie? Because I can't get Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise believes in Scientology. He's not going to heaven. So, but great. Who knows? We didn't die. So, epic to that. So, like during those down times, after that, there's still a couple more failures and blah, blah, blah. But what always picked me up is that I always pick up either Mitchell's book. If some of you, actually, I didn't know that you all are so new. If you are, because I basically give out Mitchell's book to everyone that I know. Maybe I'll bring some tomorrow. If you bring a thumb drive, I'll give you a recording of his speech as well, that you must not ever not share it. But if you do, say you download it from BitTorrent from someone else, so it doesn't come from me. So, but Mitchell is a great guy. He currently lives in Hawaii and Santa Barbara, traveling around, hitting on chicks and wherever he goes. He used to own a bar. He bartenders as well. And one thing he always jokes about is that there's still one thing until today that he cannot do, which is to button the top. If he's wearing a collared shirt, he can't button the top. So he said, you know what, I can bitch for the rest of my life that I can't put on my own button, or I can look for the prettiest girl in the room and ask the girl to button for me. So that's how he always positions things, because no matter how bad the situation is, he always finds a way to say, you know what, there should be a better way of doing it. One of the personal experiences that really moved me, I think it's like almost 9 years already. The first time we met, we were at the Oriental dinner. So he was actually trying to, if you've been to a Chinese dinner, they always serve you peanuts before you eat. So he was trying to use, with his hands like that, he was actually trying to take the chopsticks to pick up peanuts, which is like, so he was trying for like 15, 20 minutes. At one point, the speakers at the table were like, you know what, Mitchell, there's this invention called a spoon, so why not you just take the spoon and done with it lah. So he actually put down the chopstick, and until today I actually remembered it. So he said, if you look at the people in China, in history, all of them use chopsticks. But I believe not all of them have perfect hands. If one of them can do it, why not me? And he actually tried. So when he was in District 2012, he was actually teaching my son how to use the chopstick. So how often in your life you actually give up just because of a small failure? Like you tried to learn the chopsticks, it didn't work, and you use a spoon. But what if you decided to go back to the chopstick or go back to the things you have failed before and try again? Because guess what? You're a lot wiser right now. You're a bit smarter. If you failed once, I always say you're already smarter than before you failed. So try it again. A lot of people kind of ask me, Matt, what if I try and it still doesn't work? My rationale is simple. In entrepreneurship, we always talk about pivot. If you pivot until you come back to where you are, okay, then you're kind of like, it's not meant for you. You're not meant to invent the Facebook killer. But having said that, I never like to impose my limitations or my failures on other people. So like some people kind of ask me, hey, Matt, you brought Mitchell in, you lost 50 grand. So would you advise doing it again? I said, yes. But he said, Matt, but you just literally lost 50,000. Why would you advise me to bring Mitchell in? I failed because of my resources. And 2 years later, I'm a bit smarter, and you have other resources that I may not have. The timing is different. So why not you try it? I may have failed at that time due to certain reasons. I've analyzed it, I've moved on, but don't let my failure stop you from doing things. So I think one great thing about places like TED or places like this is so that instead of just sharing about success, why not share a bit about failure? Because it's not taboo. Somehow I think it's the fucked up education system. It's like, hey, if you get 0 mark, you don't go home and show your mom. Now, actually, I do. So it's like, hey, man, get 0 again. But because at any point, the next test, if I get 0.5 marks, hey, man, it's 50% increment already. But I think it's very much in the Asian culture when you fail, you take cover, which is a smart thing to do, but you take cover for too long. You try to hide it, put it under the carpet and stuff like that. Don't. So some people actually ask me, hey, man, why do you talk about your divorce and stuff like that so openly? Because It's true. Eventually, you Google me up. I'm increasingly becoming more popular thanks to people always taking photo and Instagramming on my weird t-shirts. So eventually people will find out I'm a divorce. So why not just share? And there's nothing wrong to actually become, it just doesn't work. Of course, I may say that I don't take failures personally, but one of the failure I take personally until today, that even my girlfriend doesn't know, is that I used to say to be the best father, I need to love his mom, which I think I kind of failed. So it's something that I can't, I wish I can do again to set aside the mistakes, but it's a bit hard for me to fix an error, which I don't know. That's why when it comes to failure, always find out what caused it. One of the greatest curse that my ex-wife gave me was that she never gave me a reason. You see, clients pay me top dollars to solve problems for them, but she didn't tell me what's the problem. So I kind of figured out that she don't want the relationship to continue because she don't want me to fix it. So, but until today, once in a while when I'm in my bat cave or when I'm, okay, sometimes when I'm doing my business in the toilet, I actually replay the scene. And you know, when shit happens, it's like, you think about shit, right? Yeah. That's how you make shit happen anyway. Oh, by the way, sidetrack. You know why you always get the best ideas when you're in shower or when you're basically sitting on the toilet bowl? Which is true. A lot of times it happens, right? So my idea of a brainstorming venue is like 50 over toilet bowls. Everyone just sit down. I think, fuck man, we had the best ideas coming out from that toilet. Yeah, mark that. Like this place is, okay, it's conducive, but it's not, but imagine 50 toilet bowls and a shower in between and someone dropped the soap. Oh shit. Okay, so, okay, ask Zikri, all of you are above 17, so you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, so, but it's just about, yeah, so I actually asked, like, were there certain things that I could have done during my marriage or during my relationship that I could have made this better? In my business, the first 4 that failed, they are mentors that kind of disown me because, okay, another sad thing about the Asian culture is that the teachers are generally the masters. They don't like the disciples to go beyond them, which is something I never agree with because I have a lot of business partners who taught me a lot of things, and when I surpass them, they get agitated. Some don't even let me fan their Facebook page, which is like the weirdest thing ever, right? So, but these are the things I openly share out because in business, okay, this coming from a guy who have lost money is fine. You can always make back the money as long as you're alive. But I always look at the failed relationships or the failed friendships that we became business partners, and that when that failed, that's actually more hurtful for me than anything else. So, but sometimes it's just not meant to be there. I think I've not just gone through one divorce in marriage, I've gone through so many divorces in business partnerships as well. And frankly, the only way I realized after so many years of failed relationship is actually to move on, because I look at kids sometimes, it's like, sometimes my son come back and say, hey, this boy, I don't want to friend me anymore. So then he's like, he cries about it and stuff like that. And I'm like, I actually look at myself, and sometimes that happens to me as well. Someone don't want to friend me anymore, right? But just move on. One thing that if you want to adopt, there's no such thing as friendship, it's friendship. Remember when you have a classmate in school, somehow you're in the same class, but for 12 years, you guys never connected one. But when you go to college, booyah, you're actually in the same course, become best buddies. Then you actually ask your best friends, like, hey man, you know, we have known each other for 12 years, but how come I never connected like this? But guess what? 4 years later, after you graduated from college or university, you guys went apart. So that's actually pointless for you to be attached for certain things. They are meant to not be permanent. So maybe it is friendship. So certain people come into your life and teach you certain things, help you grow, and you move on. But if you choose to stay and hover over that particular, oh, I lost my friend, stuff like that, you're going to be stuck there. You're doing origami over and over again. You're like the guy who make a crane, take out, make it the paper, and make it the crane again. It's not going to work. The crane is not going to fly. It's still going to be a piece of paper, right? So, and I think the last thing I would like to end with is always stay true with yourself. My mom taught me this, is that, you know what, my real name is Jia Yong, so Maverick is like a weird name. So she always say, you know what, you have a bad memory, so never tell lies. Always tell the truth, and always be true to yourself. And all things that my mom, she was a teacher, so she teaches science from Form 1 to Form 3. I think that's like 12 to 15. One thing that she always do when at the first day of the first class for the next 3 years, she always challenged the students. At the end of the third year, when you take your SRP or PMR, you need to be the same level as me or better. And I always challenge her, is that, you know what, Mom, you spent like 30 years teaching this science topic. How are you going to expect your kids, your students, to actually surpass you? She said, that's how I know I would have succeeded. Because a great teacher always put the students in front. They always challenge themselves by pushing you forward. So I think when a lot of people come to me and ask me, hey, how do you find a good mentor and stuff like that? Find a mentor that will clap for you when you are successful. So, and also stay true to yourself. So in line with all the, because when I look at Google, it's all the acronyms and stuff like that. So of course I need to do my own acronym also lah. So let's look back at the things that I thought about today. When shit happens, always take cover. Orgasm or origami, whatever works for you. It's either opportunity or epic fail. Motivation fixes, find the stories that really work for you and keep it in your log. Do it again only for R&D. And guess what? When you put them all together, it becomes condoms. So, yes, it doesn't even make sense, but yeah, there's an end missing. Shit, there's an animation missing. But you know it's condoms, right? Yeah. And with that, one final advice when it comes to failure. In my third business, after losing like tons of money, I actually thought of giving up. I was a dropout, so it was a bit hard for me to give up because no one generally want to employ me without a proper certification, right? So I went to this friend, an old guy, an old mentor, and he said, you know what, Maverick, if you actually quit today, you are giving up something that's been passed down generations by generations. Okay, the way he originally said it is very racist. I will not say it the way he said it, but he said entrepreneurs are freaking cockroaches. Because you step on it 10 times, if one freaking leg is still moving, it will still flap its wing and fly at your face, right? So I think one thing you will always have to remember, that you guys are cockroaches. Scientists have shown if everyone fired all the nukes they have in their silos and the world ended, only 3 things will survive: a rat, a scorpion, or a cockroach. So I think I picked the scorpion. It's a bit more awesome. No one wants to be the rat or the cockroach. But having said that, please, by all means, the key to failure and overcoming it is to actually become a cockroach. Thank you.